What's going on, guys? Predicts here. So today I have a new video for you. In this scenario, Joe Biden is the Democratic nominee, and Mike Pence ends up being the Republican nominee after President Trump is either impeached and removed from office, or he's impeached and he chooses to resign, or in something else happens to President Trump and he's not the Republican nominee. So anyway, we have Joe Biden versus Mike Pence. So let's get right into it. So Joe Biden's going to win the West Coast as he usually does. And I think in this scenario, Joe Biden would win New Mexico too. And he would win Hawaii. I'm just doing winner take all in this scenario. I'm not doing any leans or anything. I'm just going Republican, Democrat, and battleground states. And then I'll go in depth with them later on. And then for now, Mike Pence will win Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska. I think Mike Pence would do better in Nebraska's 2nd district than President Trump would. Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas I'd put in Mike Pence's column. I think he performs better in more Republican states than President Trump would. He would win Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi. The usual Republican, kind of like L belt, as I like to call it. Joe Biden would win. I think. Actually, I'll come back to Virginia. I think he would win in Delaware, Maryland, D.C., New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, 2nd district definitely, and New York at large, as well as Illinois. See, am I missing any? I think I got them all. Okay. And the rest, I'm going to put in the battleground for now. These are states that are either going to be close or closer than they could be anyway. And here we go. Okay. So now, Mike Pence will have 164, Joe Biden 187. I think from here, Joe Biden's going to do well out west in Colorado. I think Mike Pence will do better than President Trump in Colorado because I feel like President Trump, some of the stuff he said with Hispanics hasn't really helped him out, obviously, in places like Colorado. And Mike Pence, I feel like, wouldn't be as brash. He probably has similar policies to President Trump on immigration, but he isn't as brash in his language, which I think would definitely favor Mike Pence. However, Colorado would still go blue. I feel like Nevada would still go blue, too. I feel like if any Republican's going to win it, it's going to be President Trump, and I don't think President Trump's really going to be able to. However, I do think Mike Pence would win in Arizona. I think Mike Pence would do better than President Trump in Arizona. And I just feel like he has more of a... Mike Pence can appeal to the more moderate Republican than President Trump will, as crazy as it sounds. Because, again, Mike Pence is like... His policies may be similar, but he's not as loudmouth and brash. And a lot of the more moderate Republicans will vote for Mike Pence over President Trump. However, that being said, a lot of independent voters and voters that voted for Obama last time wouldn't want to vote for Mike Pence. And that'll be coming up later in this election video. Georgia, I think, would go to Mike Pence. Not really too much doubt about that. North Carolina, I think, would also go to Mike Pence as well. I expect Mike Pence's numbers to be around Mitt Romney's, maybe a little bit better. Maine at large, I think, goes to Joe Biden, including the 2nd district. I think the only Republican that can win that, really, is President Trump. I know a lot of Republican voters are going to be pissed about this whole impeachment thing going on, but I still think Joe Biden, if it's Mike Pence versus Joe Biden's probably going to win all of Maine. I think New Hampshire will go to Joe Biden in this scenario. I think Mike Pence doesn't really... I don't think President Trump has the best appeal for the state of New Hampshire for a Republican to win, but I think President Trump's appeal is better than Mike Pence's appeal. Kind of more conservative economically, but a little more socially liberal, and I feel like President Trump may be like that, but he doesn't really portray it that well if he is. So New Hampshire would go to Joe Biden. I think the state of Virginia would go to Joe Biden. I think it'll be closer if Mike Pence is the nominee than President Trump. I think Mike Pence will have a lot more of the moderate Republicans in the Virginia suburbs voting for him that didn't vote for Trump last time. However, I think it would be a lean margin, but Joe Biden would still probably win Virginia by about a 4 to 5 point margin. I think the state of Minnesota, if it's Mike Pence, isn't really that competitive. I think President Trump could put Minnesota in play and could potentially flip it in 2020, but I don't really think Mike Pence is the right candidate for that. I do think the state of Ohio is going to stick with Mike Pence, though. I feel like President Trump winning it by a big margin could have been an indicator, but then Mike DeWine winning it in the midterms that, in my opinion, and the data backs it up, did favor the Democrats. It was President Trump was president, so it was a referendum on him, and the fact that Ohio reelected it's well, not reelected, but reelected the same party as governor. I know not Scott Brown, Sherrod Brown won the Senate race, but Jim Renossi wasn't really the best Republican nominee in the Senate. If it was Josh Mandel, I think that race goes very differently. I think Josh Mandel wins that. However, Mike DeWine did win the governorship, and I feel like that's a sign Ohio was kind of shifted red. And I think even when Mike Pence is the nominee, Republicans would still probably win in Ohio. Now into Iowa. I think Iowa would also go to Mike Pence. I think Iowa would be very, very close if it's Mike Pence versus Joe Biden. But I don't really feel like Iowa's all that keen on voting for Joe Biden. The new poll came out. I think he's in third or fourth, and him and Buttigieg are neck and neck. Iowa doesn't really have that same drive for Joe Biden as it does like a Warren or Sanders. However, President Obama did win it, but that's the argument from the Biden campaign that he can bring it back to normal. Joe Biden is not Obama. He's not African American. He doesn't speak well. He doesn't say very fond things that a lot of people in the media salivate to. Joe Biden is not Obama, and if he was the nominee, I think people would realize that very soon. So I think Mike Pence would still win in Iowa. I think Mike Pence would actually win in Florida. I don't know if you saw, but President Trump switched his residence to Florida because I think that's a strategic move for him to try and win it in 2020. And to be quite honest, Florida is always going to be close no matter what. If it's Mike Pence, it'll be a lot closer than if it was Donald Trump. I think Trump will probably win it within 1 to 2 points. If it's Mike Pence, I think it could be under 1 point. But I still think that there won't be that high of an African American turnout for Joe Biden as he's expecting. And I also think a big percentage of Hispanic voters, especially Cuban voters, will vote for Mike Pence. And I do think Florida will go to Mike Pence. That being said, on to the Rust Belt. I think Joe Biden will win Michigan here. I think President Trump is the only Republican, in my opinion, that could have won the Rust Belt in 2016. And I see him as the only Republican that can win it really in 2020. An argument could be made for Wisconsin, maybe, that Wisconsin could go to Mike Pence. But I feel like Mike Pence doesn't really have the same appeal to white working class voters that President Trump does. And I think that's going to be enough to give Wisconsin and Pennsylvania to Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't have that appeal that President Trump does to white working class voters either, but his appeal is better than Mike Pence's. So I think the Rust Belt will mainly flip back to the Democrats. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania will anyway, if it's Mike Pence versus Joe Biden. And I think that'll be the final prediction. Joe Biden will win this presidential election with 279 electoral votes to Vice President Mike Pence's 259. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.